Grand opening, grand closing. Welcome, my friends, my family, my fellow gamers. It's your only friend, these YouTube streets, Puerto77, and I am back with another video. And this is for the PlayStation fans, right? Let's have a little talk here, right? As your only friend, these YouTube streets. Some of y'all getting suckered. And y'all getting suckered bad, right? Getting suckered bad. At least the real PlayStation fans, right? Not these fake grifters or whatever. Legit PlayStation fans. And I'm gonna tell you why. I understand many of you are not happy about the creation of PlayStation 5 Pro, right? But you're letting your emotion, I would just say, interfere with your cognitive thinking, right? And you're falling into the whole social media stuff, and PC fanboys and Xbox fanboys are gassing you up, saying, yeah, that's right, don't be a cuck for this company, whatever, and you're like, yeah, I'm not a cuck, I'm a stand up for my rights. You're getting suckered. Okay, let me explain, so that way, and maybe some of you PlayStation fans, you're just watching this video for the first time. This is probably your first time on my channel. If this is your first time on my channel, then okay, you guys get an excuse. But if you're a PlayStation fan, you've been watching for me for a while, you should know better if you've been paying attention. I'm going to explain why. First, I understand why the PC gamers are bashing the PS5 Pro. It's obvious. PC fanboys, right? I'm talking to PC fanboys. Because the actual PC gamers, they don't really care. Some of them are actually interested in it only because they appreciate the advancements of technology in gaming, right? So that's really the real PC gamers should only care about that, right? In advancement of technology. But the ones most heard about this are the grifters and the fanboys. And I'm going to explain why. The fanboys don't really have the PC that, when you talk about the best version of games, the best performance, 200 frames and all this other stuff, then fanboys don't really have that PC, right? They have weaker PCs. They're on their 3050s, their 2060s and shit like that, right? They have a much weaker PC. They have the $7 to $900 PC. They're not willing to spend more than $1,000 on PC. But that's perfectly fine when compared to a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X, right? Xbox Series X, PlayStation 5, they're like around $500, $400. The PC that they are willing to pay for is double the price, but it's still within the range they're willing to pay for. They're willing to pay for $800, $900. And those PCs are better than the PS5. So everything's cool. But this PS5 Pro changes everything. This PS5 Pro smokes these $700, $800 PCs. There's no question about that. That's not even, you talk to the PC gamers that actually invest in quality PCs, right? They pay their $2,000. They will tell you it is a great experience, but you have to pay for it, right? You want to get, a nice enough CPU, a great graphics card, a proper motherboard, that synergizes with everything, the right memory, the right drive, all that stuff. And if you're willing to put in a decent amount of money, you have a great experience. These guys are not going to pay $700 for a bullshit Walmart PC. They're just not going to do it, all right? PS5 Pro outclasses these stupid builds, right? And that's a problem, right? Because a lot of these PC fanboys, they enjoy knowing that their PC that they only spend $900 on, $800 on, is better than the PS5. It's better than the Xbox Series X in terms of performance. But with the introduction of Pro, that changed everything. So now, for them to have a PC better than the Pro, they're going to have to actually spend money on a better performance. They're going to have to upgrade their GPU. They're going to have to upgrade their CPU or something like that, right? They're going to have to put more money into it, but they don't want to do that. Right? So now they're coming up with bullshit. They come up with lies. They come up with all this stuff. They're out there lying. So $700 build is great, all this. It isn't. Right? Now they're talking about, but you got to include the stand, online fees, and, they're doing all that stuff. They're doing all this nonsense to cope, right? That's the first part. The second part with the PC fanboys is they don't like about the PS5 Pro, even if they do have more powerful build, right? Because there's fanboys that do have the 4090s, that do have the 4080s. They do have a very powerful rig, right? But these fanboys don't like the idea of the Pro existing even though they have a better system, so it doesn't mean anything to them, because it still shows that Sony still has, right? Right? They still prioritize their console, right? They're still willing to invest in console technology, push the latest consoles. They want consoles on the market. They're going to stay in the console business. And when you stay in a console business and you're making a priority and you're doing these things, it makes it harder to do what Microsoft doing, which is pretty much just become a third-party publisher, put games day and date, don't worry about the hardware. They want Sony to forget about the hardware, or at the very least, don't put hardware at the forefront. Put game developing and publishing games at the forefront. And then if you make a console, you make a console. If it works, it works. If it's good, it's good. Whatever, whatever, right? But investing into a mid-gen refresh, which means like Sony, Sony wants to push a more powerful console. Developing new technologies like PSSR, which is already, right, outclassing FSR, right? And it's already being stacked against DLSS 3.5. And DLSS 3.5 is superior, right? But considering DLSS already has, 4 years of updates and, it's 3.5. This is PSSR 1.0. If you even could call it that, because the console's not even out yet. But let's say PSR 1.0 versus DLS 3.5. Hell, FSR 3.1 actually is DLSS 3.7, because that's what Digital Foundry used to compare it to the PSSR. And FSR 3.1. But the fact that PSSR already outclassing FSR 3.1 and is being compared to DLSS 3.7, that's impressive right out the gate, right? And that's great investment, new technology, and it spells great for the future of next console generation, right? But you got PC gamers, they're predicting that the next PlayStation is going to be the last PlayStation console, right? Because that's what they really want, right? They want consoles to go away because it benefits them, right? Because the game's got to be made somewhere. So I understand PC gamers' issues with the PS5 Pro, the fanboys anyway. The Xbox gamers, I understand their issue because all of this makes their favorite preferred brand, terrible. The fact that Microsoft did not release a mid-gen refresh, they just pretty much threw in the towel. There's no conversation of Microsoft with a mid-gen refresh. It's just not there, right? And that upsets the Xbox fanboys or people who prefer Xbox because they want Xbox to still fight. They want Xbox to create those consoles, push new technologies, and stuff like that. And they're just not seeing it. With the talk of no console required, cloud gaming, Game Pass on PC, and now putting more games on PlayStation, Doom, they were predicting a lot of Bethesda's games will be exclusive now. Yet Doom Dark Ages is day one. Indiana Jones is coming 6 months after the release of Indiana Jones. People projecting Starfield will be a 2025 release and stuff. There's just a whole lot of unknowns. Now talks of Halo, because now is UE5. There's no reason not to put on PS5. It's just a lot of unknowns. So no new fresh console, none of this stuff. And now Sony releases a mid-gen refresh. And they invest in new technology not before seen on console with the AI upscaling. And they're just in it. So they're just hating on the console in general only because they wish they had it. They're hating on something they can't get, right? The best they hope for right now is this whole Xbox 2026, which they are coming up with. And we don't even know what that looks like. Is it real? We don't know. But that's the best they got, 2026. And we don't even know what that's about, right? So I understand why Xbox gamers are not happy with the Pro. Because it represents something they want. Let's not lie to ourselves. If Microsoft released a mid-gen refresh for $900, people will bash it, people will talk shit, but the Xbox gamers will be happy because at the very least they tried. At least they're doing something. This is better than nothing, which is what they have right now. So I can understand those two. What I don't understand is the PlayStation gamers. And believe me, I see some of your concerns and it just doesn't make sense. Let me address some of the PlayStation concerns. The first concern that I think is the most common is being afraid that this price point will lead to the PlayStation 6 being a higher price point. Like this sets the tone. Meaning if PS5 Pro is successful and people are buying it at $700, then Sony could be like, you know what? We can sell the PlayStation 6 at $800. This sets how would you say, what was the term they used for PlayStation? being full of it. Oh man, I'm sorry. Whatever. Kind of like what happened with PlayStation 3, right? Get two jobs. They're afraid of that. Okay. Let me dispel that nonsense. I'm going to explain to you why. Okay. Most of you who watch my channel heard this before, but many of you might be new. Okay. There is a difference between a PlayStation 4 Pro, PlayStation 5 Pro versus a PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and a PlayStation 6. Understand the difference. The difference between the two is the PlayStation 4, the PlayStation 5, and the PlayStation 6, the base models, they have a specific job. And that is to be a mass market device. So that way you can penetrate as many homes as possible. Because the business of console, and many of you still don't know this, because I seen it on Twitter, people still don't understand what the console is. The console is a physical storefront, right? Right? The sale of the console, meaning the money you make off the console, is not the primary business. The primary business is putting the console in the home, and the continued businesses after, the continued transactions after, is where the money is. That means once the console's home, paying for a subscription, buying games, whether it's first party and third party, playing the free to plays and paying for those little DLC money transaction stuff. All of that stuff is what the main purpose of the console is. It is a storefront. It is a market. It is where transactions happen, and Sony reaps the benefits of every single transaction that happens on the console. For example, if you buy Hogwarts Legacy on Steam, Sony gets nothing out of that. Valve gets 30%. In order for Sony to get 30% off of Hogwarts Legacy, it has to be bought on the PlayStation console. But in order for it to be bought on the PlayStation console, guess what the household has to do? They have to buy a PlayStation. Once you buy a PlayStation, every game bought on the PlayStation, with this third party, right, or first party, whatever, Sony makes a cut. That means that console is a storefront. No different than Steam. It's a storefront, right? Now, that business strategy only works. It's only profitable. It's only good when you have a lot of consoles. You have to keep selling console after console so you could build that nice big marketplace, 30 million, 40 million, 50 million, 60 million, 70 million. The millions and millions of consoles that are in the homes, that generates a huge market, right? So when you look at the PlayStation 4, for example, 100 million consoles sold, that's 100 million storefronts in the homes, in households. That means 100 million consoles, and whoever owns the console, they do what they want. If all they play is, let's say, Fortnite, Call of Duty, and Madden, okay, that's all they play. But guess what? When they play Fortnite and they want to buy dance moves or skins or whatever, Sony gets a transaction. Every year that gamer buys Madden, Sony gets a transaction. Every time, a gamer spends money on the Dynasty packs and cards to get players to form football teams, Sony gets a cut. Every time a gamer buys Call of Duty and spends money on the map packs, the DLC, the seasons, Sony gets a cut, right? Sony doesn't see any of that if those games are played on PC, right? On PC, you want to play Fortnite, you go through the Epic Game Store, Epic gets the cut, right? You play Call of Duty's wherever it's played at, they get the cut. You understand what I'm saying? So the console is a storefront. That's where the money is at. And that's only possible when it penetrates a huge amount of market all throughout the world. So that is why, because that's the business, right? Sony sells their consoles, right? The PlayStation 4, the PlayStation 5, and the upcoming PlayStation 6 at a loss initially. So for the first year or so, year to year and a half, they actually create a powerful hardware that's valued at a certain money, and they sell it to you for less than what the console costs to build. That is called selling the console at a loss. So let's say if the console costs $600 to build or $550 to build, they're selling to you for $500. If it costs $450 to build, they're selling to you for $400, right? $450, $400. They're losing money with each console sold. Whether it's a $50 difference, $100 difference, whatever the difference is, every time somebody buys that console, it's actually bought cheaper than what it costs to make. right? That's how Sony is able to push powerful technology and yet still get into the hands of the mass market. Okay, this is quite different than the Pro. The Pro is not a mass market device. The Pro is not the device to build this huge market. The base console is. So in the case of, we'll use the PS5 Pro, the PS5 is the console to build the base. The PS5 Pro is not. And because it's not the console to build the base, they're going to sell it for profit. Now, the profit margin isn't big. It's not. They're not going to make $100, $150, $200 off of every single PS5 Pro. They're just not. Be lucky if Sony makes $50 off the Pro. Be lucky. But they are making something off it. They're not going to get into a revenue loss, right? They're making something, maybe $25, whatever, just a little bit, right? But the reason why it's a slim margin is because they want to put most of the money into the hardware and get it to you, and they'll shimmy a little bit on top to make a little bit of profit, right? But only because they don't want the PS5 Pro to cut into the profits of another sector. That's what they do when they launch new consoles. So in the case of the PlayStation 6, they're going to sell the PlayStation 6 at a loss for about a year or year and a half, right? And the difference of the loss per console is going to be made up with the sales of subscriptions, buying games, buying controllers. All these things are going to supplement and cover down on the loss each console is being put at. And it's going to remain that way until Sony, through advancements and improvements on the internal design, they're trying to get, the components smaller, cheaper to manufacture. And then around a year so far, based on the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 5, about a year, a little bit over a year, they break even. And then within 6 months after that, it starts being profitable. Now, profit margins ain't big, right? It's like $10, whatever. But the main thing is they are no longer using another sector of their gaming, subscriptions, game sales, and money transactions to cover down and recover on the loss of each console. You understand what I'm saying? Now, everything's all profitable. Everything's even Steven. Okay? That's what they're going to do with the PlayStation 6. So the PlayStation 6 will be sold at a loss at launch, right? Meaning whatever they spent money to build, right? And whatever the value of the PlayStation 6 is, they're going to sell it for less than the actual value because they want that console out in the masses, out in the market. And Sony will deal with that loss for about a year to a year and a half, right? After a year and a half, the new revisions models will come out. Still looks the same. It just has a different, model number, but it's cheaper to build. And then after 2-3 years, they'll come out with the Slim, which is much cheaper to manufacture. The profit margins are bigger, etc., etc. That is the business, okay? The Pro is not a mass market device, okay? So that's really the whole deal of, PS5 Pro is going to make the PS6 more expensive. No, PS6 has a different strategy, okay? So the whole worry about PlayStation is going to be $1,300 or $900, you got to stop that. The second thing, right? And this is what's funny. Even if you're not going to get the Pro, you should still be happy that Sony is making a PlayStation 5 Pro. And I'm going to tell you why as a PlayStation 5 gamer. If PlayStation is your primary platform, right? And you're one of those, I'm not getting a PlayStation 5 Pro, I'll wait for the PlayStation 6. You should still be happy or at least excited that Sony is releasing a PlayStation 5 Pro. Because the technology that is in the PlayStation 5 Pro now is what you're going to have on the PlayStation 6. You're going to benefit from a better optimized, well-developed PSSR technology on the PlayStation 6 because they're using it now. Developers are using it now this gen. They're going to use the PSSR, right? And Sony has, PSSR 1.0, right? They're going to update it to 1.5, 2.0, 2.3, whatever. By the time the PlayStation 6 comes out, you'll probably have at a minimum, PSSR 2.5. Minimum. They have done enough updates to get up to 2.5. That means PlayStation 6, when it launches, you're going to have a better version of the PSR, well optimized, and an industry that is extremely familiar with PSSR. That means right off the gate, when you get your PlayStation 6, it's going to have some great advancements already onto it. There is no learning curve. The developer's already into it. The industry's already used to it, and it's gonna have an excite. You're gonna have an exciting time, and you're gonna get great there. You're gonna have more powerful hardware on the PlayStation 6, and a much more well optimized PSSR with an industry that is absolutely familiar with it, and you will absolutely reap the benefits of this technology day one. You can even say, technically speaking, the PS5 Pro owners are doing the beta testing for you PS6 owners. We're the ones that's going to go through the growing pains. We're the ones that's going to notice, okay, there's a little bit of issue here. Sony could do better there. Sony's going to notice it. And over time, they're just going to update it, improve the AI, improve the learning language, the machine learning, and all that stuff. All the reps, all the issues, the beta, right? We're going to go through in the PS5 Pro. And by the time the PlayStation 6 is out there, you guys who bypass the Pro but says you're going straight to the 6, you're going to have a much better time. You should be encouraging Sony to do this. Get technology out earlier. Get it in the hands of developers earlier. So that way when the next main model comes out, it's fleshed out. You guys are not going through the betas. You're not going through the pains, the growing pains of these new technology, right? The developers are more familiar with it. It's running great. It's on version 2.5, 3.0, 3.1, and you guys are loving it. So even if you're not getting the Pro, understand you're going to benefit from what the Pro's doing today when you get your PlayStation 6 tomorrow. And this is where you guys need to focus on that stuff, right? You guys are so worried about the price and whatever. Listen, I'm going to tell you right now, little by little, prices are going to go up little by little. Look, right now, this gen, the consoles are $400 to $500. The PlayStation 2 launched at $299. Remember? PlayStation 4 launched at $399, right? So consoles are going to gradually go up and up and up gradually from generation to generation. I don't think it's going to be drastic where it's like $1,300, but consoles are going to go up, bit by bit, right? Okay. But with the PlayStation 6, right, it's going to be sold at a loss. So yes, the PlayStation 6 could be $500. It might be $600, right? Depending, okay? But as you can see, consoles have been going up little by little. The only way you'll have consoles stay at a stagnant $400 or $300 is if you go the Nintendo route and you see what they are. Their console's not powerful at all. This is just it's a little 1080p handheld. That's all it is, right? And it's fine for Nintendo because Nintendo has a specific, how would you say, a specific image, right? They have a specific thing, right? So it's okay for Nintendo to be the 1080p handheld, low graphics type, brand. That's okay. That's them. PlayStation can't get away with that. People expect PlayStation to create comparable hardware that's in line with the industry, that all the industry third-party games are on PlayStation. It has the hardware to run these games great. There is an expectation of a balance of performance, power, great-looking visuals, being able to accommodate third-party games. The third-party games run really great, right? And they expect Sony, we all expect Sony to do better. I cannot believe there's any PlayStation gamer that'll say, you know what, I'll be cool with a PlayStation 6 that's 1080p and low res graphics or whatever. No, there's an expectation of technical competency on PlayStation brand, okay, across every device. No one's going to accept, a lower quality PlayStation brand. That's just not their identity. That's the word, identity. Nintendo has the identity. People accepted the identity, and they are cool with that identity. PlayStation has a different identity. A powerful brand with beautiful graphics, beautiful technologies. People expect good performance, especially now that Sony created that standard for themselves. They have to keep it up. They have to keep up its ability to provide 60 frames per second in their games across the board, all right? Okay, now that, ever since the HD era, it's been challenging, right? PS3 was pretty much a 30 frame. There was some games that was 60 frames, but for the most part, it was a 30 FPS machine. PS4 was primarily a 30 FPS machine. Now it's back to 60 FPS, right? Because the PS2 and the PS1, those days, a lot of consoles, Super NES, many of them was the 60 FPS machines. 60 FPS is not a new concept, right? But ever since the HD era, 30 FPS was becoming the norm, right? But now we're back to 60 FPS being the norm, and Sony's gonna maintain that. Okay? So you PlayStation guys, listen, I think also, I'm gonna be honest, some of you guys, right? I'm gonna call it what it is. Some of you guys are butthurt over the PS5 Pro. And I'm gonna tell you why on the PlayStation 5, on the PlayStation side. Besides the price, many of you are already used to knowing that you have PlayStation 5 is a great console, right? And many of you bought it at launch, and many of you seen what was happening in 2020, where everybody was dismissing the PlayStation 5, talking trash, 9.2 T flops, RDNA 1, while Xbox Series X RDNA 2, having issues, running Resident Evil at 1080p 60, not even let alone 4K. PlayStation's are 4K 30 machines, while Xbox is 60 FPS standard with ray tracing. You all saw it, right? And then when the consoles launch, nowhere near that. Many games run better on the PlayStation 5. Many games outperform the Xbox Series X version. And of course, Xbox guys going to come up with all these excuses. Well, it is powerful, but developers are not doing this. The tools, Home Depot stuff, stupid stuff, right? Excuses, excuses, excuses. Nothing but excuses, right? And you guys enjoyed it. Many PlayStation enjoyed the reality of this gen where PlayStation 5 is a well-built console and many of your games perform better than Series X, and you guys got used to it. But now with the PlayStation 5 Pro and you not willing to spend $700, you're no longer part of that group. Sure, you're a PlayStation gamer, but you can no longer say you're playing the best version of a game if you're on the base PlayStation or if you're on the PlayStation Slim. Only the PS5 Pro gamers by themselves, no one else can say they're playing the best version. In consoles, obviously. Right? So now you guys, who's going to remain on the PS5, some of you don't care. Some of you know the PS5 Pro is going to run the better version, but you still don't care because the PS5 is good enough. But some of you want to remain in that group. You want to say that your version is the best console version. But now you're not willing to spend another $700 or more money or even trade in or go through anything. Whatever reason you're not going to do it, you just don't want to do it. But now you realize you're no longer going to be part of that group. You're no longer going to say, I got the best version. It's better than Series X, whatever. Okay? Before the Pro, many PlayStation guys had no problem using Digital Foundry. They had no problem with zooming in at 300. They had no problem at, the metrics. Everything Digital Foundry did, they had no problem with it, right? But now they have a problem with it happening with the Pro. And here's the thing. The heads-to-heads are even worse. The heads-to-heads between the PlayStation 5 Pro versus the PS5 is a much bigger gap than the Series X and PS5 Pro differences, right? Because sometimes the best version of PS5, you're talking like a few frames. Like, PlayStation 5 base has lock 60. The Series X is like jittering at 55 or so, 54 and stuff like that, right? Maybe even down to 50, okay? But at a higher resolution. You guys used to brag on that shit like, look at that. We got better frames, lock 60, while Xbox Series X is jittering in the 50s, right? But yet, with the PS5 Pro, when they're showing the head-to-head, it's full fidelity 4K, full quality 4K at 60 frames versus full quality 4K at 30 frames. Literally double the frames. Straight up. Not even close. With better image quality. And you guys are like, I don't see nothing. So having 5 to 10 frames better than Series X, you guys bragged a whole big deal. But a full 30 frames more, smooth, 60 frames, at full fidelity, with image quality even being better assets, everything. And that doesn't mean anything now? You see what I'm saying? It's kind of weird what some PlayStation dudes are doing. So you guys don't care full fidelity at 60 frames, but y'all bragged about 5 to 10 frames over the Series X. I'm just saying, you guys, y'all falling in for the traps, and you just, listen, if you're not willing to spend $700 on the PS5 Pro, that is fine. PlayStation 5 is a great console. I have it. It is a great console, especially if you got the all digital $400. You cannot complain over, for spending $400. And even the 500 one with the disc is fine. It's great. It's a great machine. But don't hate on the Pro. The Pro is going to make your PlayStation 6 experience better. That's all I have to say. Let me know in the comment section. Tell me what you think. Did you learn something? Do you guys, hit up the comment section if you need me to clarify some stuff. If you need something like a more in-depth conversation, if you need me to show you, references and stuff like that, put it on the screen, let me know. You know how I could do split screen and all that stuff. Let me know if there's something you never realized that I just talked about, and maybe you watch other YouTube channels and they never really talked about it, right? Hit me up in the comment section. Let me know if there's any videos or if you want me to go live, and what do you want me to talk to in depth, right? Because maybe some of the things I'm saying is like no other YouTuber or, gaming enthusiast, whatever, ever really talked about that. And now you realize, holy cow, I never looked at it way. Did you ever see consoles really on storefronts? Did that thought ever come into your head? Does it make sense? Do you now realize, like, holy cow, I never really looked at any of the consoles like a storefront, like Steam? Like, do you need more references? I'll be more than happy to provide that content and go deeper into those conversations. You let me know, okay? Hit up the comment section. Hit me up on Twitter. DM me on Twitter. I'll be more than happy, to put in the effort to get that content out there. Even go live, so that way we have live interactions in the chat and we could go along and stuff like that. Anyway, your only friend is YouTube Street PorterRock77. If you like what you see or hear or interested in future content, subscribe, hit the notification, and please like this video and let me know that you enjoyed the content. All right, you guys take care. Enjoy your Sunday. You all have a good night or good morning, depending on what part of the world you're in. Take care. Peace. Grand opening, grand closing.